So, the subject of this lecture is the definition, Vedic definition of lust. Right? Yeah. Vedic definition and symptoms of lust. Well, when we talk about the lust, then we have specific images in our mind. And that's usually connected to sexual expression, sexual activities. Somebody's lusty. We see it like dramatically expressed in the movies. You know, somebody's rich and powerful and lusty. Well, that's not really lust. That's greed. It's a different definition. It's a byproduct of lust, but it's not lust. It has a different definition and different symptoms. First comes the lust, and then all other things. So we have to discuss the lust first. And Vedic scriptures talk about lust a lot. They call it kama, or desire. But not every desire is kama. Some desires are bhakti, or spiritual, connected with God. I want to serve the God. I really want to give something to God. That's not kama. So what's the difference between the kama desire and bhakti desire? Between material desire and spiritual. And how do we differentiate? How do we discriminate? Which is the faculty of intelligence. So we have intelligence to discriminate. This is good, this is bad. This is spiritual, this is material. This is lust, this is love. In this world, we give the name of love to all kinds of lusty desires because it sounds better. We like euphemisms. You know euphemism? It's a more pretty word for an ugly activity. When you dress up, when you put a makeup on an ugly activity and call it in a more palatable way, in a more tasteful way. So instead of saying old people, we say senior citizens, right? It's more elevated, but it's the same thing. So, to to that degree that people will say, I love having sex. Love and having sex, especially a lot of sex with a lot of people. It's not love, really. Because love has its own already determined definition. By God, of course. We can define our own vocabulary, but then how are we going to communicate? And that's the main problem in communication. But I love you. And then she's going to say, no, you don't. Yes, I do. This is what I feel is love. No, I don't agree that that's love. That's something horrible. No, this is beautiful. So everybody likes to use the words, define the words in the way that suits them in a certain situation. So instead of saying, I want to be with you because you give me sex, I'm going to say, I want to be with you because I love you. I love you. And then we have to convince other people, but I love you. Look, I love you. Look. That's not love. That's a lusty request. Please gratify my senses. Please give pleasure to my irritated mind. And then somebody says, no, you don't love me? Our answer should be, no, I don't love you. Situation is solved. Problem solved. Yeah, we should not call our activities by such elevated language. We should use the language that is appropriate. Well, I'm lusty. I want to eat something. What, you hungry? No, I'm just lusty. All right, so what's lust? If we examine the shape of the mind, well, the mind doesn't have a formal shape, it doesn't have a physical form, but the form of our mind is determined by the thoughts, but the quality of our thoughts and the quality of our feelings, which are basically chemical secretion in our body, chemical substances in our body. So if our thoughts are organized and structured and functional and pleasing to us, then we can say that our mind is beautiful, right? So if somebody is singing all the time or doing some humor or always doing something very creative and constructive, we can say, wow, what did you have? Like if we see a beautiful picture, say, wow, who painted this? They must have beautiful minds. So we can fall in love with a person just by looking at their work and say, wow, I can just imagine how beautiful you are inside. So, yeah, the form of our mind is determined by the form of our thoughts. If our thoughts are not, if they're changing all the time really quickly, then our mind is more or less formless. The form cannot take any form. There's no time to create a form. This is what I want, and then hold on to it and then achieve that. And how are we attracted to, how are we producing our thoughts? Okay, so he has beautiful thoughts, and because of that he has beautiful products. His life, his work, and everything is much more beautiful than mine. How does he do that? Where does he go to take thoughts? Is there any, like, a store where I can buy more good thoughts? You know, I buy expensive, bio thoughts, eco thoughts that are more expensive. No, they come from within, again, not from without, not from the outside. Even though we might think, oh, I see this picture and all of a sudden I have beautiful thoughts. So this picture created my thoughts. No, it just sort of irritated your thoughts. It triggered, made it happen, made it just like a castle in the sand. We make castles in the sand. The sand was already there. We didn't create the sand. We just reshaped it. So the outside world simply helps us shape our thoughts. That's all. But it doesn't really, because, for example, when I see her, I become irritated. When he sees her, he becomes very pleased. So, what kind of trigger is she? Good or bad? Well, that depends on the person who is, looking. And so basically everything is inside us. The trigger, the material, the content, the context, everything is inside. So we cannot avoid this world. We can maybe try to look at more pleasing things to us, but we can't really avoid looking at different things that we don't like or hearing things. And so it's up to us to build our mind, just like the body. You know, whose fault is it that I don't have big muscles? Nobody. I didn't take the time to work out because it's not my interest. So I cannot complain to have, you know, skinny body. Mm. So, but the thoughts are. So if I'm looking at this image or this person and I'm thinking nice thoughts, and he's thinking bad thoughts, so where does that come from? How does that happen? And this is important to understand. The thoughts are not created on their own. Just, what stupid idea. Oh my God, what horrible thoughts I have. Where did that come from? What are we going to do? Put an umbrella to shield ourselves from the bad thoughts? No. There are people who think that, you know, I picked up somebody's bad energy and I'm such a great sensor and I just saw this person and picked up his energy and I have these horrible thoughts. I have to go and do some detox and breathe and smoke and drink and whatever we're doing. That's completely false. That's a victim mentality. I'm actually so good that I'm a victim of bad energy. I'm a detector of energies. You know, I have an elevated position. That's all baloney, as New Yorkers would say. It's a bunch of baloney. That means not good. Not true. No, it's a fabrication. It's a lie. It's a euphemism. We like to describe our feelings with euphemisms, you know, words that sound, expressions, definitions that sound much better, that elevates us to a higher position. And if we analyze people's actions and thoughts, we'll see that the most amount of time we invest, without being aware of that, even now, we're not aware of that, but we're trying to enjoy in building our status. We like to be perceived as very elevated, knowledgeable, very nice, you know, very attractive, very desirable, very valuable. It takes a lot of decades to shake that off, to actually feel disgusted by that propensity, by that desire, basically. Propensity is a really deep desire, something that's really hard to get rid of. Almost part of our nature, but because we're spiritual, we cannot have an excuse. Well, this is my nature. I'm a woman or I'm a man. No, that's not your nature. You're spiritual. So we have established yesterday that we're spiritual. We're not material. So there's no excuse not to behave in a spiritual way. And lust is sort of like a signal that we are not spiritual. We are not thinking in a spiritual way. It's a good indicator. And so our thoughts, before we start labeling them materialistic or lusty, let's see how they're created. And then we'll be able to understand them more accurately. Like, oh, now I see why I think like this. Oh, okay. And then we won't feel, you know, excessive guilt. I'm horrible, or this is not for me. I'm a materialist. I shouldn't be practicing spiritual life, or, you know, I'm too good or I'm too bad. For ego likes to go into extremes because I have to be, you know, either the worst or the best. I'm the biggest failure or I'm the biggest success. Yeah. No, we're average. You know, nothing special, and we should take the recommended recipe or process for, you know, for our lust. In this case, we're talking about the lust. So, above the mind, above the level of thinking, there's intelligence. And intelligence is simply choosing the thoughts. Okay? This and then this and then this. I should do this and then after that I'll do this. No, actually I do that. No, this is better. This is how intelligence, it's actually creating a slideshow of our impressions, or samskaras in Sanskrit. That's the name, samskara. That's our thoughts, our impressions. So our intelligence is using only those that will help us achieve our desire at this moment. So our intelligence is listening, both the upper level, which we'll talk about it now, and the lower level, which is the mind. So the mind is thoughts and feelings, and intelligence is taking only certain ones, and putting them, okay, after this lecture, I'm going to go down the stairs. Actually, I'm going to first put my shoes on and take my clothes and see where my backpack is. Oh my God. And then where am I going to go then? This is what intelligence does. And so if we've never been in this place, this is the first time we just woke up in this space, we won't be able to have any plans. Like, what do I do next? I have no idea. The only plan would be to ask somebody, where am I? Where can I find a hotel or train station or something like that? Intelligence would be blind. Like, I don't know what to do. Then I have to improvise. Well, there's probably a street outside. So I'm going to go out. Okay, in the street. Excuse me, where's north? Okay. And then slowly. But if we came here, then we have the experience. We have samskaras. So we're going to use them. Okay, so down the stairs, not up the stairs, not through the window, through the door. So this is how intelligence does. But blindly, intelligence doesn't know if these decisions are good for us. See, intelligence doesn't ask that. Not yet. The intelligence is thinking, who am I? And what do I want? And who am I? That's the part above intelligence. It's called ego or superego. Or, in the modern terms, unfortunately, we call it the subconscious mind. It should not be subconscious, but alas, it is. The subconscious mind should be like superconsciousness or superego, which means the identity above this level of material existence. So we're something above this body, which means superior to this body. What does that mean? That means that we control the body. The body does not control us. But when we don't have the knowledge about it, then our superego sinks down to the lower level, and it's called subconscious mind. And it's controlling us without us even knowing about it. And in this way, we are considered to be same as children or same as animals in our consciousness level. If we have dominant subconscious mind, then according to the Vedic psychology, we are it's not a condemnation like that. It's just we put ourselves in that position. This is just a category. Well, you don't really think on a conscious level, so you're like an animal. It's your choice. Yeah, you can live like that. It's not a problem. You can live. Most of the world lives like animals, just not thinking about who am I, what is good for me. So if we clean up our subconscious mind from all the traumas and bad experiences, and if we train ourselves, then our subconscious mind rises up to above intelligence. So when I'm hungry, my intelligence goes, oh, I'm a body, and I have stomach, and my stomach is empty. Stomach needs food. Let me get some food. That's the closest food. Let's go get food. That's what my intelligence does. Where's the food? Oh, right there. There's a bakery or there's a restaurant or something like that. Right? When we're really hungry and we're like especially in a new city or something like that, we go like, where's the bakery? The first bakery. I just want to put something in my mouth. If they have yogurt, I'm going to be really happy. Some of them do, but some of them don't. So you come and it's just pastry. And okay, I need something to wash this down. So intelligence is looking to fulfill the strongest desire. You see, this is important. Intelligence is listening to the strongest desire. But which is the strongest desire? The strongest desire is the desire that is focused on one spot for the longest amount of time. Just like in the summer, the part of the city or the earth that is exposed to the sun the longest period of time will be the hottest. It's very simple. So in our conscious mind, we have thoughts and we have feelings, but above that we have focus. It's like a, lens, objective. We focus on certain things. And when we zoom in and focus onto something, then everything else is invisible. Have you noticed the professional photography? You have a beautiful model, male or female, and then the background is completely blurred, just one color or something like that. Maybe some details. Why? Because we're not interested in anything else. We zoom in from far away. I zoom in into Peter's nose, and that's all I see. I don't see his face. I don't see his ears. Nothing. And so somebody asked me, "Do you see Peter?" "Yeah, I see him." "How does he look like?" "Well, 2 big holes, like a hill, and it's kind of moving like this, expanding." It's like, what are you looking at? That direction. And am I looking at Peter? Yeah, I am. But in a specific, focused way. So the camera can look towards him and then see the whole wide shot, wide lens. We can see everything. We can see Peter. And we can have a context. Oh, this is what's happening here. But if we zoom in, I want to see, that nose, that looks really interesting to me for some reason. Then I cannot see other things. So my intelligence doesn't have all these other information. Only that one. Just like that story when 5 blind people, or 10 blind people, whatever, were given to touch an elephant without knowing that that's an elephant, and asking, what animal is that? So one said, this is a snake, because they touched the trunk. And somebody said, this is just a tree, because they touched the legs, and somebody said, this is a small snake, or whatever. Snake with a mustache, because of the tail or something like that. So even if they put together their experiences, they'll never conclude that that's a completely different animal. Because you say snake, and you say rat, and you say a tree, and you say a flower, it must be an elephant. No, it doesn't work like that. That's the thing. So 5 million limited conclusions is still wrong. 5 million we put together, it's still wrong. We have to have an actual knowledge. So what Vedas give us, they give us that wide perspective, wide shot of everything. So we can see the context. That's connected to this, and this is connected to that. It's all the way there. It comes from there. I see. So when we have that perspective, then our mind is more peaceful. More knowledge, more peace. Now I know. Okay, now I'm fine now. So my rent is tomorrow. I don't have the money today. And so my mind is agitated. But if somebody comes and says, you'll have money tomorrow. Really? Yeah, you'll have money tomorrow. Okay. I don't have the money, but the knowledge makes me peaceful. Even without the money, without the acquired, object, I'm peaceful just because I have knowledge. So in this world, the biggest problem is the lack of knowledge or the presence of ignorance. People do stupid things because they don't know anything better. And so what happens? Our focus is looking for the signal from our identity. And because our identity is supposed to be above intelligence. For example, I'm hungry. There's a bakery over there. But I don't eat these things. So why am I not eating those things? I don't eat from bakeries and restaurants. I only eat what I make, or my wife, or my friends. I'm very careful who cooks for me. For example, that's my situation, and I believe most of you are also careful where you eat from. So my intelligence will tell me, but you're hungry. And remember, when you're hungry, then this and that will happen. And I'll say, yes, but I am following certain restrictions. I am this person. My identity is more important than my current needs. See, that's the thing. If it is, if it's not, then it doesn't matter. I'll eat whatever is there. It has meat in it or eggs, doesn't matter. I need to fill my belly. That is the priority. But if we believe, and if we know, if we experience scientifically, empirically, that we are not this body, then there is no excuse. We always have to prioritize our identity over our real identity over our secondary identity, which is this body and our mind. So I'll say, no, I'll eat when I get home. This is how we control the mind. First, we assume the correct identity. I am a spiritual soul. I'm a spirit soul. I don't belong in this world. And God is my source. So my main duty is to follow God, not to follow this body. I have to follow the body as well, but not as a priority. Otherwise my body is my leader. My body is my God. And then if my body is my leader, if that's my priority, then God takes the second place or third place. So it's going to be like this. First I'm going to have sex with her, and then I'm going to eat that, and I'm going to punch him, and then I'm going to pray in the church. You see? That's how it goes. That's the kind of spirituality we have today. First let me make a lot of money, cheat a lot of people, get really lusty and greedy, and then I'm going to give something to the church and charity. Oh yeah, very nice. Like that's going to save you. and it's in this world, it's in the beginning it's harder to do the right way. To say, no, my first obligation is towards God. So what does God want from me? He wants me to eat only this kind of food. Why? Because it's good for my consciousness. It's good for me, not for him, for me. So, okay, because I'm a follower of God, I am not follower of my belly. Okay, my belly says I'm empty. Well, I'll fill you up. Don't worry. Let me just think how I fill you up with something more appropriate. Not eating just anything. I just gave one example. It could be a nice bakery, but even if it's the nicest bakery, first identity comes in. Okay, who am I? Oh, I'm a spirit soul. I follow God. I follow Krishna. I follow my spiritual master. I follow the Vedic scriptures. So what do I follow? I follow this, and that. Okay, based on that. So we give our intelligence a condition. Okay, you can find a solution, but under these conditions only. And then intelligence goes, all right, no problem. If we set things up in this way, the intelligence will follow. Intelligence is not a separate identity, like, I don't want to. No, it's just a machine inside, like a computer. So, basically, whatever we focus on for the longest period of time is considered to be our desire. Not whatever we say, I want to have a new car. That does not mean that that's our strong desire. That might be just a fling, like a whim here. Something that comes and goes. Oh, I wish I'm in Hawaii right now. And then 5 minutes later I completely forget about that. That's not a real desire. A real desire is determined by the field of our focus, just like the field of focus of the camera, So for example, I come home and there's a camera on my window. And I say, okay, my wife has been taking shots of something. And I look through it and I see she's been looking through a window of some man, who's bodybuilding like that. So I'm like, okay. And I press play and I see 200 photos of a bodybuilder pumping his flesh. And I'm thinking, okay, she's probably interested in this guy. And if she tells me, no, I was actually interested in the flower arrangement on the window. There's like a tiny little thing. I'm going to go like, really? then you would focus on that. So by our focus, we can see what is our desire. What's on our mind most of the day? How to pay my bills, how to make more money, how to partner up with somebody, get a relationship going on. How do I look? What does he think of me? What does she think of me? How am I going to entertain myself now? What am I going to do now? What's on our focus the whole day? And that focus, if it lasts for a long time, it catches the attention of God, because God is in our heart, and He looks through that focal point. What are you looking at? I always wanted to see what my son, when he was little, I would look in his eyes, and I'm like, what is he tracking? What is he tracking right now with his little eyes? I wish I could go inside and just be an observer, just see what piques his interest. What's your interest? So I taught him how to point it out and say, what is this? What is that? Those were his amongst first words. Toto. Что это? Toto. Toto. He would just point and say, what is that? What is that? What is that? And then I would explain. And then sometimes he would say, what is that? And then I would explain, it's a picture of chocolate. And then he would go, huh? Like, tell me more. And then I would explain more. And then he would say, huh? 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 Okay. What is that? Huh? Huh? Okay. And then sometimes he would just, what is that? And then next one. He wouldn't even wait for an answer. And with that, I determined what is his interest. And okay, so my son likes these things. Let's talk about that. And then you know what you get? You get your child to be very attached to you. Not in an unhealthy way, but just he depends on you to explain the world to him or her. That's very good. That's very necessary for the first 3 to 5 years of their life. They have to depend completely on you, nobody else, parents, caregivers, to explain the world. Why? Because only parents and caregivers care enough for the child to explain it in a non-harmful way, in a way that it's easy to understand to a child, in a very friendly way, in a very, not lying, but explaining on that level. If we don't have a vested interest in a child, then we say, it's that, somebody died, and then, let the child think about it, like, whoa. So Krishna is looking through our heart, which means our subconscious mind. What is your interest? And so what is our interest? Why do we think about the things that we think about the whole day? Because this is what we believe who we are. If I believe I'm a man, I'll be looking for a woman. If I believe I'm a woman, I'll be looking for a man. Or, if I'm a man and I think I'm gay, and then I'm looking for another man or whatever, I cannot be so much interested in, for example, women. If I think I just have the body of a man, I'm actually a spiritual soul. If my major role in life is to serve God, is to follow God, then what's all this with women? Or with men? Or with cars? Or with money? Or with whatever? How can that be so important? Well, it's there, but it's not... You can close. But it's not that important. It's fascinating to me. It was always fascinating to me. Well, everybody has their own problems, but with my friends, there were always so much, women, and women were also girls, men. I'm like, what's up with this? There's so many of them outside. How can you be so hungry for it, or be so desperate? Because there's so many. They're coming all the time, new ones, fresh ones. Chill out. It's going to come. It's easy. Just so, but why? And then later on, I realized that some of my male friends who are really, fanatical about having sex with women, and that's the most important thing, is that they think they're not going to get it. They think that I'm not attractive enough to get, a decent woman. So whenever the opportunity is there, I'm going to get it, and which was not the truth at all. They were fairly attractive, and they could pair up with a woman anytime, but they didn't think of them like that. It's identity problem creates unnecessary desires. You understand this now? When we have false identity, that creates unnecessary desires, which means more desires than we really need. More need than we really need. And what is that? What is the product of unnecessary desires? Agitated mind, disturbed mind. A mind cannot focus on one thing, and that's the problem. Because then, if we have wrong identity, then we have intelligence that will take us in the wrong way. Well, I'm a man and I should punch him in the face because I'm a man and he's looking at my woman, or something like that. So intelligence will, later on we're going to say, how could I be so stupid? I was so stupid. How is that possible? Intelligence is not going to come and say, sorry, my fault. It just disappears. Emotion, for example, if we do something out of the emotion, and that costs us a lot of money. You see a nice jacket and it costs 3,000 euros. And you're going, I have to have it. And the heart is just, and then you buy it and it's so wonderful and you think you're on top of the world and everybody's looking at you when you come out with that. And then in a few days you're looking at that jacket laying down on the bed amongst other jackets and you're thinking, 3,000 euros, oh my God, what was I thinking? But you wouldn't be asking that question if the emotion was still there. You would go like, yeah! But the emotions are, how do they call it? No, we say varliva, that means it varies. It takes different forms. It's here and there. Chanchala in Sanskrit. It's unstable. And so if we do things because the emotion is there, then the results are also going to be unstable. For example, in relationships, we go into a relationship because there's an emotion that fills us up and we say, wow, I have to have this more and more. I have to have more of this. And then we grab the person thinking that the emotion will stay because it was triggered. Well, the first time I saw you, I fell in love, so I had to have you. But after a few months, I don't have the emotion anymore. So I'm basically cheated. I made a choice, like when you're buying a car and you're thinking, well, what a beautiful car. And the person doesn't tell you that it's all rotten inside. So you're driving, well, you're happy with yourself, with your decision. And then after a month or two or a few days, you realize, it's rotten inside. The engine is in horrible condition. Then whatever was beautiful in the car, on the car up until then is not anymore. And from that point, the car is just ugly and you want to get rid of it. Just like a person becomes ugly. How is that possible? Because we are basing our interest on the wrong identity. That's not who you are. So when you come to the gas station, make sure that you know that the gasoline is for the car and the food, whatever, fruits and vegetables is for you. Don't mix those up. Don't give yourself the food that belongs to the car. So when somebody gives you $300 million, then you go like, is this the food for myself? No, this is just for the body. So, that's secondary, tertiary. It's not so important. And when somebody takes away $300 million from you that you previously had, then you say, yeah, it's just food for the body and it's not so important. It comes and goes. I'm not going to base my life on the needs of my body. Or the mind, which is the same thing. It's just the computer of the body. I have to base my life, center my life around something that's above these material designations, imenovanja, designations. I am Indian, so I have to have more spices in my food. I am European, so I have to be white, or whatever. These designations make us think like something we're not. If I think I'm a BMW, then I'm going to think I need new spoilers, I need new tires, and then I'm going to be happy. So I put all that in my car, and I'm still the same unhappy, hungry, or whatever, cold, sick person. I didn't really help myself. So lust is a focus or a desire onto something that is not us, away from ourselves. We want something that is away from ourselves, our real self. Just like I want the stars. You know? In the romantic situations, a girl will say, get me a star. I'll give you stars and the moon. I'll give you everything. Reach for the stars. That's going to make us, so what, 10 years in a relationship, a woman comes and says, so, did you get me the stars? It's been 10 years. Where are they? No, she's going to give that up because he's not God. He cannot take the stars from the sky. That's just an expression. So, yeah, that's how we should also look at life. Yeah, I need a house, I need maybe family, I need a car, I need socks and shoes, and all right, that's going to come somehow. Let's first take care of the more important business, and that's who am I really, and what do I need? Not just what does my body need, but what do I need? And Krishna is explaining to us, to Arjuna, and to us in the Bhagavad Gita that if we only go for the bodily or mental desires of the mind and the body, then we're going to find ourselves in the situation where we don't feel satisfied. Okay, that's the product of lusty desire. Lusty desire means I desire something that doesn't belong to me, that is not really me, and it's not for myself. And therefore, it cannot give me full pleasure. We're not looking for a half pleasure. We're all looking for full pleasure. I see this beautiful woman, and I'm thinking, oh, she's going to probably give me at least 1/10 of the pleasure that I look for. Who thinks like that? Well, sometimes when we're buying something and we don't have enough money, we'll say, well, it's going to do its job, but I would actually like to have something else. But most of the time, especially choosing our profession, our place where we're going to live, especially people we're going to hang out with, our lifestyle, we're thinking, I want to be fully happy. I want to fulfill my desires and be happy. So this is the illusion that we labor under. If I fulfill my desires that come to me, they're connected to this body and mind, I'll be happy. And for that, I need a lot of money. Because then I can just... I can ask my mind, what do you want? And then the mind will ask my senses, what do you want? I can go for some food, or I can go for some drink, or I would like to hug someone, or I'd like to be in this situation or that situation. This is the material life. We are listening to the inferior desires, from the inferior identity. That's fine. That's why material world exists. So we can do that. That's why we're here, to do that. To fulfill our lusty desire. Now, why do we call it lust? Why not just material desire? Because lust means I want more. See, that's the problem. Now I got this woman, and after a few years, I want more, or maybe younger. I want 2 women, I want 3, or I want younger woman, or I want older woman. Or I want this car or that car, The other one that I bought 5 years ago is not, for some reason, it's not enough. Either by becoming obsolete, old, unusable, or by being perceived as obsolete. That means like, what's that Mercedes, like 10 years old? You're still driving that, tin can. I have to get a newer car. Even though this one runs fine. It's perceived obsolescence. Have you ever seen nowadays anybody with those big monitors on the desk? Big monitors for computer. Who has them? Nobody. Why? Because they look horrible. But they're actually good. They were great monitors. I remember using them. Big Sony, Trinitron monitors. Great for your eyes. But now it's like if you come to somebody's house and you see they have a computer with that kind of monitor, you probably think they have probably no money. That's why they cannot buy something new. Why do you this horrible thing on your desk? So, I've been wearing this shirt for like a year now. Everybody was going to look like he's always in that same shirt. He probably doesn't have any money. I don't want people to think of that, of me like that. So, when we identify with the body, when we don't have enough knowledge about who we are, then we're trapped. We're going to think about the body. What's next? What's next on the repertoire of my senses? And even just to think like that, how am I going to enjoy next? How am I going to fulfill my needs next, in the next situation? When I come out of this, when I go down, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, next year. That's called lustful thinking, lustful desires. Even if you get it, you're not going to be satisfied. So it's like if you had a child, or if you have a child, or if you are going to have a child, then you take him shopping, and it's a disaster. He wants that, because at that point, that looks most colorful and fancy. And then you buy him that and say, okay, now be happy with that. Yes, I'm happy. After a few steps, he drops that and says, oh, I want that. It's like, we can't go on like this. This is not practical. You have to choose one thing and then stick to it. But for a child, that's impossible. He sees other options. So his mind goes, oh, no, I actually want that. And then once he drops one toy and grabs another one, he realizes, oh, now he doesn't have that first one. And then his mind becomes... I remember when I took my son in Los Angeles, there was this store, children's store called Toys R Us. Mismo igračke. So we would go in there and I would take him... First, I would go by myself, the day before, and check out what they have. And just take him to that particular section. I don't want him to see multiple choices. I don't want him to see a Spider-Man figure in like 15 different, positions and colors, because then he would be disturbed later on, because now he has to make only one choice. I cannot say, well, I'll buy you 10 of them. That's not good parenting, even if I have a lot of money. I remember I was working with a lot of rich people, and I was thinking, so how do you parent if you have a lot of money? You can buy the whole store for your child, She says, no, it's really difficult. You have to say no, even more than people who don't have money, So I'm like, well, that's not easy. You have a choice and the child has a choice, but you collapse it all into one or two. And then you realize it's actually easier for the child. You tell him, do you want this one or this one? And then, okay, that's really easy. So, I like that one better. So if I choose that one, I won't be sorry that I didn't choose this one. This one is definitely better. But if I have millions of choices, I'll never actually know. And then I'll come home and I'll think, maybe the other one, and my mind becomes disturbed. So now I fulfilled my desire, but I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. I'm still empty. Yeah. And so what did I do? I fulfilled my desire just to feel empty. What kind of desire is that? What kind of fulfillment is that? Well, that's called lust. And that's the symptom of a lust. The mind always wants something else. It's never free. And what does that mean? The mind is, free your mind. When people say free your mind, what do they usually mean when you hear the rhythm? Free your mind, free your mind. What do we think about? Take a lot of drugs and dance all night and have a lot of sex. Just free your mind. No, it's actually enslave your mind. When you give him a lot of things, then mind becomes enslaved. If you try that with children, then please don't. If you just give them, they become insane. They become the enemy of you and themselves and everybody else. It's an amazing phenomenon. That the more you fulfill desires, the more crazy the mind becomes. I want this, I want that, I'm not happy. So what Krishna does is actually collapses our choices and says, I want you to only choose from these two things. Forget about everything else. And then we go, all right, that's easy. I choose this. And that's it. So, to be really free is to be free from desires. That's the thing. If we have a lot of desires, which people want to have, like I'm going to take my father's credit card, I'm going to go in a shopping mall, and I'm going to just agitate myself. Let's see what I can buy. And then the mind, maybe this, maybe that. I want that, I want that, I want that. Yes, I want this. That's not peace. That's called disturbance. And one desire creates another. So I bought a camera. Now I need a battery, extra battery. I need tripod. I need light. I need lens. Now I got married. Now I need an apartment. We need children. She needs a lot of stuff. It's just never-ending story. So lust moves. After a while, lust transforms into greed. When wanting for more is actually good. How do we know that we're lusty? Well, we don't feel guilty when we're lusty. We feel, I want this and I want that, and I'm making plans how to fulfill those desires, and I feel happy about it. I feel happy about making those plans. That's called lust. That means you're covered already. You don't see that you're lusty, and that you're going to become unhappy very soon. Greed is when we think that's how you live. You grab for yourself. And then when you grab for yourself, you and your family have enough, then you're happy. So how much is enough? There is no such thing. We'll have one house, but we should have another house for you and your children, and who knows in the future, maybe you'll have 5 kids. So I'll buy 5 houses. Even though they're empty now, I want to make sure that I have enough. Fill them with electronics and food and all that stuff, just to make sure. In case I live 200 years, I have some. But that's lust. Completely, and becomes more unreasonable. Greed becomes more unreasonable than lust. Lust at least subdues at one point. That means, I want ice cream, so I eat it. I fulfilled my lust. So I'm peaceful for a while. I don't want another ice cream, and I would feel sick. So I'm good for now. Just wait, maybe in 3, 4, 5 hours tomorrow. Then I'll go, okay, I can go for another one. And then another one. So, good materialist, maybe a philanthropist or a morally well-adjusted person will say, that's why you shouldn't take too much. Then you desire only a little bit and a little bit. So, you become balanced. And then you can be happy. Can you? No, because the mind doesn't work like that. Okay, so I bought this car and I should be happy with it for the next 20 years. But after 3 years, my mind is already making plans about the new car, a new friend or a new apartment. It doesn't work. Because even if I'm happy with this car, the car will get old. Even if I'm happy with this wife, she maybe go crazy. And then, okay, but I liked you, but now you're different, so I'm sorry, I don't like that. That's the problem. Or we really, really like it, and then the death or something else separates us, and then, I had it, but then I lost it. It must have been love, but it's over now. It must have been good, but I lost it somehow.
It's never enough.
It's never enough. Yeah. And materialists, they sing about it. They make movies about it. It's never enough. And that's why we should always strive for more and more and more. Lust, greed, and then anger. We'll talk about it in the next. So we'll see the symptoms. We shouldn't look for the symptoms in other people. We don't know why they behave in a certain way. Maybe they really got some misfortune happening in their life and they're disturbed and unhappy and in lower modes. That doesn't mean they're necessarily, lusty and greedy people. But, having said that, lust does create disturbance. So that means person is never sure of his position. Is this good? Should I have something else? There's always a doubt. Maybe this, maybe that. That's the symptom of lust. And then another thing, we cannot calm our mind. So for example, we take Bhagavad Gita or some other book, we try to read it, and the mind is all over the place. Or we read it, but we didn't catch the essence. We didn't learn much from it. Why? The mind is somewhere else. Where? What's more important than reading about yourself? From the book for self-realization. This is how Srila Prabhupada is calling his movement, International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's a movement. And it's science of self-realization. That's how he calls his book, self-realization. So you're reading about yourself in order to become self-realized. Oh, now I know who I am. Now I know. Oh, I'm a son of a famous king who's dead. Now, so I'm a king now. So, okay, that changes things. I'm a king, so I should do this. When we learn about our real selves, then we start behaving differently. Especially if learning about the new self means that the new self is better. That means better life for me. So, but lust directs the focus on the body. We try to chant and meditate and something. I'm cold, I'm hot, or why is that noise outside? Or listening to what neighbor is listening, on the radio or something like that, and trying to, concentrate and chant. That's what lust does. No peace, no quiet, no rest. It inspires us to always do something in order to get something. And that's why we're busy taking, not giving. And one great cure for lust is to give, to engage in activities that are solely for the welfare, for the benefit of others. And those are spiritual activities, of course. So that's why we have yoga centers and different spiritual centers where we can come and perform so-called karma yoga. That means I'll do something for other people. For example, you can stay afterwards and clean this room. For whose benefit? For all of us, you included. But maybe you won't come again. It doesn't matter. So do it for others. And this is what lowers the lust. If we're only thinking about ourselves and our property, me, my car, my money, my wife, my children, then the ability to think about other people other than ourselves is getting lower and lower. And God is something other than ourselves. So we cannot think about God if we're constantly thinking about the body. So lust narrows our field of view, and we have a really small lens like telescope. We can only see one tiny bit out of the context. And in this way, lust makes us more ignorant, more impatient, and narrow-minded, which means our decisions will be not very intelligent, which means that we will suffer because of those decisions. Everything in order? Yes? Good. So again, let me repeat this. Under the influence of lust, we will be making bad decisions that will cost us money and time and everything. We will later on realize, this wasn't a good decision, but who could know? Yes, you would know. If you categorized your plans and your decision-making process as lusty, then you would know that the result of that would be loss for you, suffering for you and others. You could predict at least the feeling, You could predict, no, this is not going to feel good in the future. I don't want to do this. This is selfish, this is lust, and so I don't want to do it. Lust is also defined as doing something just for me. I've said that, but that's something that when we live in a spiritual community, then it's really hard to be lusty. There's always something to do for other people, communal work. We do everything together. See? But in the cities, we are separated. So our lust increases. That's why I say don't live in the city, because your lust will increase. Even when you live with your husband, you'll still think about yourself. When you live with your wife, you'll still think about how she can serve me, fulfill my desires. And then I'll be happy. And not good. It's really hard to be God conscious and selfless in the cities. There's just no room for that. A little bit, but not much. And rarely, only few people can operate within the limits of the city and urban life and do the work that is selfless. Few preachers here and there, gurus, but not too many of them. It's mostly money-making business, Lust. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Kama esha krodha esha raja guna samudbhavaha. He explains to Arjuna. Arjuna is asking him, why, even if I know that something is wrong, I still go ahead and do it. I still do it. We know that certain food is not healthy, but we still eat it. We know that certain words are not good, and healthy, but we still use them, or actions. So Arjuna asks, why? Why? What's the deal? Then Krishna says, well, kama esha, krodha esha. So it's lust and anger. The destructive forces of this world. And you have to rise above it if you want to avoid such consequences. Lust, my friend, thinking about your body and your mind and how you can fulfill your current desire. I want something sweet. Let me have a lot of sweet. And then later on, problems. So that because you were lusty, you weren't thinking. And specifically sexual lust. We know that when that takes us over, it's just, there's no thinking. We don't think about it. We'll have sex and we'll contract a disease or give somebody a disease or make somebody pregnant or become pregnant without wanting. Horrible decisions. Just for fulfillment of sensual desire for a few minutes, few moments, few hours. So yeah, that's the lust and the symptoms. Thank you for your attention. Are there any questions? You can ask in Croatian. Možeš na kojem god pa ću ja prevesti.
I would like to connect our desires to modes of nature, and I'm not sure if I got this right. So desire in the mode of passion is kama or lust.
Mm-hmm.
The desire in mode of ignorance is greed.
And anger, yeah.
And the transcendental desire is bhakti or love, and how is called the desire in mode of goodness?
Yeah, okay. So let's try to connect our different desires to different modes of nature described in Bhagavad Gita. Znači kako povezati naše želje identificirati želje sa određenom vezujućom silom prirode, sa određenim modusom prirode. So, in the mode of ignorance, we have more aggressive desire level. It's like, I want this, I want that, I want everything. So that's anger, greed, envy, that's lower modes of nature. When we want to, that's already escalated. So we should, I think, begin with the mode of passion, because most people are in the mode of passion, or raja or guna. I want for myself. I want good for myself and whatever is mine. Me and mine. Me and my family. That's what people always say. My family and I, or me and my family. So, but then in mode of goodness, we don't think only about ourselves. We expand that much further. My whole society. I'm doing benefit for my whole society. So you become a humanist, a philanthropist. You'll build roads and dig wells and, they construct houses for poor people and something like that. So it's, you really have nothing out of it. Maybe some status. People will talk about you, or maybe they will build you a statue or something like that. But you don't ask for it. You're happy with just giving. So that's mode of goodness. You're not, but it's still material. You're not giving them God. You're just giving them. You're giving them food today, but tomorrow they're going to be hungry anyway. But it's okay to give them food today. That's very good. That's in the mode of goodness. It mix goodness and passion. For example, if you stay anonymous throughout your whole life as a humanist or a philanthropist, then that's really, you're pushing it into mode of goodness, into highest level. That's called pious activity, and in the next life you will probably get birth on the higher levels of existence, like among devas and devatas, demigods, heavenly realms, heavenly worlds. And enjoy better life. But then again, when you spend all that good karma, you come back. Oh, that's called good karma. Mode of goodness is good karma, but aiming for transcendence. So if you can give so selflessly, then you can probably step up on a higher level and give people what's really good for them, and that's spiritual life. Instead of just feeding them, let me feed them and give them spiritual knowledge at the same time. If you want to give people spiritual knowledge so that they can become self-realized and thus really they can really become happy, then that's called transcendental desire, and it has nothing to do with modes of nature. It's spiritual. That's spiritual. The rest of them are not spiritual. They're more or less material. Is that okay? Yeah. Anything else? Was this understandable to you? Did you understand the lecture? I mean, my English and everything. Did you understand? Properly, okay. Ok. To je to? Može.
Znači, rekao ste da je mali korak između mode of goodness i transcendental, ali u teoriji. Ali u praksi se to nekak čini daleko. Mislim, ima dosta ljudi koji operiraju mode of goodness, ali nekako se u tom izgube.
So there are a lot of people who operate, or they seem to operate in the mode of goodness, but they cannot go above that into transcendence. So it seems like from the mode of goodness to transcendence is a long way. But I said it's not. It's not, because those who look like they're in the mode of goodness, but cannot easily transpose themselves onto higher level, they're not in mode of goodness. Mode of goodness is actually seeking for higher, Mode of ignorance, mode of passion is seeking to go down. Mode of goodness is always seeking to go up. For example, if you're clean, you always want to be more clean, right? If you don't care about being clean, you're always going to be less clean, in due course of time. So, real goodness, will ultimately propagate you to a higher level. It's looking for that. Just like lust is always looking to become greed. So mode of goodness is always looking, always aiming, striving to become spiritual, real spirituality. That's why if we're really in the mode of goodness, then it's easy to transition into transcendence. If we see that we cannot transition so easy to surrender to God, to really have that faith and trust and to surrender our lives, then the conclusion is rajas, passion. I'm in a mode of passion and ignorance. So I have to work on that. And that's why, our spiritual community is there so that we can go there and practice that. Just live for others for a long time so that we can ensure that our mind is situated, not just today, but situated firmly in the mode of goodness. This is how Prabhupada is using those specific words in the Bhagavad Gita. Properly situated, firmly situated in the mode of goodness, then the mind can observe God. Then you can notice God around you. Otherwise it's just me. What's in it for me? It takes time. And some people are more attached to passion and ignorance than others. It's just condition. But the process of bhakti yoga, it bypasses all those conditions. It goes straight into the center. It doesn't matter how, even if you're completely in the mode of ignorance, tamas, this process will elevate you gradually. That's why it's process. It's not just magic, it's process. It's a process.
Oh ja. Na primjer, malo prije si rekao mislimo. Sad kad se recimo misli počnu javljati, kako da, na primjer, budu konstruktivnije misli. Sad recimo javi se, ne znam, jedna glupa misla, druga, treća, šta ću s njima?
So if we get these random thoughts that are stupid and not constructive really and not useful for spiritual practice, what to do with them? Well, you don't have to fight with them. You just disengage. That means don't engage in that thing. Take a book, take your japa and start chanting. This is how we fight idle thoughts. Idle means useless. There's no function. For example, if your car breaks down and you are going to do some service, whatever, and then your car breaks down, now you have to think about how to fix the car and all that. Those are useful thoughts. You need them to progress further, in your service or whatever. But once you drive a car, then you don't have to think about the car, right? So if you start thinking about, maybe I should buy a different car. What kind of car is this? Oh, yeah. Oh, is this useful right now? Do I need all this? No. And then it says, stop. Let me play the lecture of my spiritual master. Let me play some bhajans, so I can listen. Let me just chant out loudly or in your mind, depending on the situation. Or take a book, flip a page and then read something and think about that. And that's why we need association of devotees, because then you can just turn your head towards the first person next to you and say, you know what, I've been thinking about the lust, And then she's going to go like, yeah, me too, because, it's the material world. So there's always somebody in the association of devotees that you can talk to about the subject that is important to you, and it's actually relevant to all of us, right? If you tell me, Kakudmi, I've been having some problems with lust, and I say, oh, lust, I don't even remember what that is. I'm lying, okay? It's relevant to me, it's relevant to everyone. Even high gurus, they know lust. They just don't give it any focus, any attention, any value. So the lust comes, they say, no, thank you, and the lust goes away. And then when the lust comes to us, we open the door and say, oh, come in, let me see what you have to offer, and then how you get rid of it. Once you let Jehovah's Witnesses into your house, don't expect that they're going to leave in 3 minutes. They're going to say their thing, so now we have to wait for them to say their thing, So I don't mean anything bad by Jehovah's Witnesses. They're actually great. I let them into my house. So because
recimo, ako ima loše misli, odvajam se od njih. A šta, recimo, imam cijeli život loše misli i sad, ako ih ne zamijenim pozitivno, hoće od cijeli život sta loše misli. Recimo, tako, ako imam pozitivne misli, mogu se odvajati pozitivne misli. Znači, ako, recimo, sad imam loše misli i znači imam cijeli život loše misli.
I zbog toga imaš sad loše misli.
Zbog toga sad imam loše misli. I recimo ako pokušam i promijeniti pozitivne misli, onda recimo ima jedno vrijeme pozitivne misli, mislim trudim se graditi pozitivne misli.
Hoćeš reći vrati se sve nazad lako.
Vrati se sve nazad.
Da, znači
se tako treba odvajati od pozitivne misli.
Yeah. So if we had negative thoughts or useless thoughts our whole life, and now we're trying to disengage, we try to change that, it's not going to be easy, because our mind is based on the habits. You can't even speak your language if you don't have habits. You can't speak English or any other language, if you didn't get into a good habit of that. I would be now choosing my words and looking for words. No, but I got used to it. And I still practice it with my son. So it just goes normally. I don't have to think about it like maybe most of you would. Why is that? Because of the habit. So it took me a while. When I came to America, I had to think about the words and ask people, how do you say? I was always doing this, how do you say this word? And then they would try to help me. And it was much more difficult for me and for them. But after, couple of years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, gone. You don't have problems anymore. So you can take that habit or any other habit in that fashion. It's here now, but I'm going to get rid of it. How? By introducing new material. Every day new material. You force your mind onto a new material. And then he goes back. Easy. He just snaps back. And then you pull it back. And then he snaps back. Pull it back. And he snaps back. That's the process. And it hurts. I mean, it's annoying. That's what I want to say. It's really annoying. Because the goal of our mind is to be peaceful. Oh, if I had 300 million euros, I would be peaceful. So if he wants to think about sex in order to be peaceful, because he thinks he's going to be peaceful, and you say, no sex. So what do you mean no? Yes, I want peace. You're disturbing me. Stop disturbing me. Give me mine. Just like a child. If you buy me this toy, I'll be happy. And then you buy him that toy, and then 5 minutes later, he's not happy. Or responsible. He doesn't care that he promised you that he's going to be happy. The child doesn't say, yeah, I promised, so yeah, I'll be happy. No, he can't help it. So the mind, you cannot blame your mind, you cannot blame your past, you cannot blame anyone. You're in this situation right now. You need to dig a new riverbed, novo korito. And then when you dig a new riverbed in your mind, by force, hard labor, long time, and then the flow of mind, of thoughts, will go in that direction. Easier. Right now, yeah, you're a victim. If you were ever a victim, now you are. This is a real victimhood. When you're trying to control your mind and he's bullying you, like, nah! And you're trying to protect your consciousness and he's just poisoning you further. Well, yeah, that's how the habits work. And it's good that it works like that, because once you dig a new riverbed, then you won't have to do it anymore. And the more you do it, the less work you have in front of you. Right now you're at the beginning. There's a lot of work. So you're going to have to tolerate a lot of failures. Your mind will trick you and you'll feel exhausted and morose, not very happy. That's the thing. And that's why being among devotees, among spiritual people, when you go down, we pick you up. It's not that amongst 3 of us or 4 of us or 10 of us, everybody's going to be depressed at the same time. No, I feel very good. My mind is very clean and clear and spiritual. And yours is not. Have some of mine. Let me hug you. Let me tell you some good, points, philosophical points or examples or advice. And then all of a sudden, you feel better. And that's why. If you were alone, you cannot win that fight. No. So your question is actually, if you were alone, there's no help. There's no remedy. There's no help, really. There's no solution. But because you're not alone, the solution is whoever's next to you. So if you don't have anyone but your japa beats, your book or your lectures or something like that, then grab onto that. For me, it was enough to have back in the day, a Walkman with the tape, one lecture. It doesn't matter if I listen to it 700 times. That's enough to replace my thoughts. It's better than whatever I have inside. But Hare Krishna is enough. You start with that. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. The mind will calm down. The thoughts will go away. If they don't go away, if it's really strong, take a book. Read it out loud. If that doesn't work, start chanting, dancing, kirtan. We have all the fixes that are appropriate and will not make it even worse. Material solutions are even worse. Makes everything even worse. So yeah, but it is natural to feel that way. That the mind goes onto that bad riverbed, bad thoughts easier than on good thoughts, which is stupid because good thoughts are awesome, it's wonderful. But why doesn't my mind then keep focusing on that? Because it's not in his habit. That's the thing. You have to have understanding and give him time. But don't just wait. It's not going to happen. If you wait, the old habits are just going on, stronger and stronger. Every day you have to do something against that old habit. Just like when we decide to take cold showers in the morning, Every morning it's going to be, it's not like one morning, no, that's warm shower feels, cold shower always feels, But you have to go against your mind, say, this is what you're going to get now, this is good for you. Okay? Yeah. So just press on hard. There's no other solution. Okay, anything else? Well, alright. Thank you for your attention. We're continuing on Tuesday again. Namaste. Hare Krishna.